A warm welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. You're watching The World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. We begin with Hamas reporting the overturning of 4 trucks inside of Gaza, resulting in the deaths of at least 20 people. The Hamas government says the trucks were carrying food. It says dozens of people were also injured. Hamas has released a statement reporting that the total number of commercial trucks overturned was 4, something it says is due to the rugged and dangerous roads. A local transport association says 26 lorries were carrying goods for Gazan merchants after Israel agreed to allow the private imports for the first time in months. In the meantime, the health ministry in Gaza says 138 people were killed by Israeli forces in Gaza in at least 24 hours, bringing the total death toll since the start of the war to over 61,000. Meanwhile, the UN Assistant Secretary General Miroslav Yanka has warned the Security Council of catastrophic consequences if Israel expands its military operations in Gaza. Yanka was reacting to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's push for total reoccupation of Gaza. The issue was reported by Israeli media this week, which also mentioned the Prime Minister will be meeting with his security cabinet this week. They're set to meet on Thursday. It's been suggested the plan could be a negotiating tactic to pressure Hamas after a recent breakdown of ceasefire talks, or an attempt to show up support from Netanyahu's far-right coalition partners. Israel has been facing mounting international pressure over the war in Gaza, where experts say the famine is unfolding. In his remarks, Yanka warned against any expansion of Israel's military operations. Well, staying with the Security Council, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar has taken a swipe at countries planning to recognize a Palestinian state, saying they had assassinated the hostages deal and the ceasefire in Gaza. He was given an official response to France, the UK and Canada, saying they will recognize a Palestinian state in the coming months. Sa'ar also highlighted the condition of Israeli hostages in Gaza after Hamas released videos showing 2 captives who appear weak and emaciated. The UN Security Council held a meeting to discuss the plight of Israeli captives and Palestinians in Gaza, with members emphasizing the need for an immediate ceasefire in the enclave.
I came here to put the issue of the hostages front and center on world stage. They cannot be forgotten. I came to call for the immediate and unconditional release of our hostages. On October 7th, Hamas committed evil crimes like the Nazis and ISIS did. They took 251 hostages into cruel captivity. 50 of them are still there. This past weekend, the world witnessed the cruel starvation of Eviatar David and Rom Braslavsky, tortured deliberately by Hamas and Islamic Jihad. The world saw their terrible condition, bones standing out in their skin like living skeletons. Eviatar was forced to dig his own grave. This is satanic. Hamas and Islamic Jihad used the starvation and torture as part of a deliberate and well-planned sadistic propaganda campaign. But the truth must be told. Israel facilitating huge amounts of aid into Gaza. No other country acts this way in war under such difficult circumstances. The world has been turned upside down. There are countries that acted also in this building to pressure Israel instead of Hamas during sensitive days in the negotiations, by attacking Israel, campaigning against Israel, and their announcement on a recognition of the virtual Palestinian state. They gave Hamas free gifts and an incentive to continue this war.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump says he does not know what suggestion to give to the Israeli Prime Minister regarding the occupation of Gaza. This was at a press briefing in the White House on Tuesday. It follows the Israeli Prime Minister's meeting with his security cabinet on Tuesday to discuss the next steps in the Hamas war. Reports suggest the meeting was postponed amid divisions in the room, which were not confirmed.
We are there now trying to get people fed. As you know, $60 million was given by the United States fairly recently to supply food, and a lot of food, frankly, for the people of Gaza that are obviously not doing too well with the food. And I know Israel's going to help us with that in terms of distribution and also money. We also have the Arab states are going to help us with that in terms of the money and possibly distribution. So that's what I'm focused on. As far as the rest of it, I really can't say. That's going to be pretty much up to Israel. Yep.
Have you seen the Hamas released video of Israeli hostage Avitar David starving and being forced to dig his own grave in a Hamas tunnel?
I have, yeah. I have. I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible. And I hope a lot of people do get to see it, as bad as it is, because I think it's a horrible thing.
U.S. President Donald Trump. In the meantime, the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, speaking on the ongoing war in Gaza, says it's a war of starvation, genocide and liquidation of the Palestinian cause. He told a press conference, in his words, "It must be clear to everyone that the war in Gaza is no longer a war to achieve political goals or to release hostages only. This war has long since surpassed any logic or justification." He appealed to European leaders and to the U.S. president to urgently act and push for a ceasefire, stressing the need to protect civilians and allow the immediate delivery of humanitarian aid. And responding to accusations that Egypt is complicit in the blockade of Gaza, President al-Sisi strongly denied the claims. Now, adding his voice to the ongoing conversation on the fate of the people of Gaza, Russia's first deputy permanent representative to the UN, Dmitry Polyansky, was engaged in a tense argument with the Israeli side at the UN Security Council session on Tuesday. He condemned what he described as the Israeli government's systemic policy of displacing Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, along with Tel Aviv's close ties to the United States. Polyansky further highlighted the U.S.-Israeli boycott of the high-level international conference in support of the two-state solution held from July 28th to the 30th and criticized Washington's efforts at discouraging partners from attending the event. In response, the Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar criticized Moscow's actions in Ukraine and accused the Palestinians of adopting propaganda tactics from the Soviet era. We're looking at protests in Vienna yesterday. Hundreds of supporters rallying in front of the Austrian parliament, calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza to end the war and stronger international action on humanitarian aid. As you're watching, they waved large Palestinian flags, held placards, listened to speeches, and chanted some more.
1,200 Israeli citizens have died, and there are still hostages, Israeli hostages, that should be freed, of course. But now there is an unjust war going on, a genocide going on, and we feel that it is time to stop this war and to have a ceasefire.
Horrible. Being a Jew, a lot of my family were exterminated in the Holocaust, and the war was quite also there then. But here there's no excuse. Everyone can see it. It's horrible. I'm speechless.
Story of hope and resilience. Dozens of supporters filled the arrival area at San Francisco International Airport as Anas, a young Palestinian boy injured in Gaza, arrived in the U.S. for medical treatment. Friends and volunteers from the humanitarian group Heal Palestine welcomed Anas with cheers and applause as the boy made his way through the gates. He was seen posing for photographs and receiving welcome gifts upon arrival. Anas was severely injured in December 2023 while sheltering at a school in Jamali. That's where he had severe injuries to his leg. He lost 10 centimeters of his tibia bone as well.
My friend, and he's really a good friend, and inshallah I will meet Anas more and more, and I want to see Anas when he finishes her medical and see him in Egypt, inshallah.
We do have children coming, 7 children coming in total here in the Bay Area. We have accompanied by 3 adults and a social worker as well from Heal Palestine. We have 3 being treated, one at Santa Clara Valley Medical, Leanne, she's a burned victim, severely burned all over her body, and we have Gaza being treated at Oakland Kaiser. She's 6 years old, and unfortunately she lost a good portion of her foot and injury to her thigh as well when she went to go try to get some water and a bomb hit her. So she's going to be treated at Kaiser, Oakland. And then we have Anas here. He's going to be treated at our friends at Good Samaritan Hospital. He was injured on December 18, 2023. He was taking shelter in a school in Jabalia. And unfortunately, that's where he had severe injuries to his leg, where he lost 10 centimeters of his tibia bone. He will feel the love and he will continue to get treatment here, and then he will move to getting physical therapy. But once treatment is over, we have, since Gaza is closed, we will be sending him to, we will take care of him with our global health team in Egypt and provide for them an apartment, a place to live, and of course continue to provide for them in every single way. Because our main goal long term is to help them heal from their injuries, the mental and the physical, and hopefully one day it will help them relieve the suffering and just become humanitarians themselves and be successful individuals that they can count on themselves and leaders.
The Kremlin has issued a vague statement following talks between the U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Russia's President Vladimir Putin days before Donald Trump's deadline to agree a ceasefire in Ukraine. Foreign policy aide Yuri Yushakov said the two sides had exchanged signals as part of constructive talks in Moscow. He also said Russia and the U.S. had discussed the possibility of strategic cooperation but refused to share more until Witkoff had briefed the U.S. president. The U.S. envoy boarded a flight to the U.S. this afternoon, according to Russian media. The talks appear cordial, despite President Trump's mounting irritation with the lack of progress in negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv. Over Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky has discussed talks with President Donald Trump, noting Ukraine fully supports a new ceasefire proposal and outlining a new $1 billion arms package from NATO allies for the purchase of U.S. arms. President Zelensky spoke on the ongoing defense cooperation with Washington, saying, "We are offering a good agreement on drones and will work with our U.S. team on the details of the agreement." He also thanked allies for the new $1 billion arms package, outlining yesterday's the Netherlands announced a decision to allocate 500 million euros. Today, he says Sweden, Norway and Denmark have decided to provide a total of $500 million. These funds, he says, will be used to purchase U.S. weapons, including Patriot missiles. President Zelensky also stressed the Ukraine sees financial pressure, particularly on Russian oil trading, as key to forcing Moscow towards peace. Japan has commemorated the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, marking the historic events with a moment of silence, remembrance and calls for nuclear disarmament. Attendees gathered at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial as a bell rung out for the 140,000 lives lost in the 1945 bombing. Attendees were also seen holding photos and praying, while a school choir sang commemorative songs. Prime Minister Ishiba said during his address, we must never repeat the tragedies experienced in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As the only country to suffer atomic bombing in war, it is Japan's mission to lead the international community's efforts towards a world free of nuclear weapons, while firmly upholding 3 non-nuclear principles. Well, there was one survivor from the Hiroshima bombing, Kazuyuki Murata, an 85-year-old, who was exposed to the bomb as a child. In an instant, he said 140,000 people will be burned to ashes. He said it was terrifying. He'd like politicians to think carefully about this. The 1945 atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki caused unprecedented destruction and led to Japan's surrender, ending the Second World War. Well, more than 100 people are missing, at least one person dead after devastating flash floods in the northern Indian state of Uttarakhand. Rescue operations are underway in Uttarkashi district after a massive wave of water surged down the mountains of the Darali village, submerging roads and buildings in its path. About 190 people have been rescued so far in the affected region, according to the chief minister. A cloud burst was what occurred in the area. It's an extreme, sudden downpour of rain over a small area in a short period of time, often leading to flash floods. And in France, an elderly woman has died. Another person missing after a massive wildfire swept through parts of the southern parts of the country, destroying homes and forcing thousands of people to flee. The woman died in her home. 7 firefighters were treated for smoke inhalation. One person is still missing, according to authorities. 2 people are in hospital, one of whom is in critical condition. The blaze broke out on Tuesday near the village of La Ribote in the Aude region and has already burned more than 13,000 hectares, an area larger than Paris, making it the largest wildfire in France this year. More than 1,800 firefighters, supported by 500 vehicles, have been deployed to the area. Here in Africa, Ghana's President John Mahama believes African nations have a shared purpose in leading the reform of global healthcare system, which he says has excluded the continent's voice. Speaking at the Africa Health and Sovereignty Summit in Accra, President Mahama pointed to mounting global challenges such as wars and economic volatility as factors undermining the region's health structures. Other speakers at the summit included the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, who warned that billions are missing care as international cuts to foreign aid continue to undermine healthcare systems. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo echoed these sentiments, stressing the need for partnerships, solidarity, cooperation, and collaboration. Moving on to our lighter stories. It's a summer everywhere else in the world, and children in Shenzhen, southern China's Guangdong province, have been immersed in the exciting world of robotics through competitions and various robot-related events, including the RoboMaster University Championship. Well, that event wrapped up on Sunday. It was held in a huge arena with numerous robotic competitions. The Jiaolong team from Shanghai Jiao Tong University were crowned overall champions champions. It showcased robots of many different types and functions, igniting young people's imagination. Well, many took part as both spectators and participants. Robots-themed summer camps and study tours have gained popularity among students in recent years across China. Well, the canton of Naranjal, in the province of Guayas in Ecuador, has set a new Guinness World Record by preparing the largest crab salad in the world. On Sunday, this is what we saw. Preparations for the record-winning salad. According to Luis Sedeno, a chef participating in the event, the minimum required to set the record was 200 kilograms. According to him, we nearly tripled the suggested weight. The dish, which weighed 1,078 kilograms, was made in a pot measuring 4 meters in length and more than 2 meters in width. During the 2025 Red Crab Festival, it was also served in 50,000 portions to attendees at $5 each. Well, the chef says it was an immense source of pride to be part of the Guinness World Record. To have achieved it, they're bursting with emotion and joy.
¿Cuánto pesó? ¿Cuánto pesó?
And as we end the program, hope you have a strong stomach for this story, because a cafe in China's Chengdu has sparked online buzz with its unusual creation, a pig intestine-infused latte. And this has been drawing curious coffee lovers from across the country. A barista fries pork intestines in an air fryer, skewering them and then layering a cup with a spicy braised intestine just before adding coffee. That drink is served with herbs and the intestine skewers right on top. It's all priced at $4. It offers 3 intensity levels. You have the entry, the mid and high, with increasing intensity of intestine flavor. Cafe owner Zhang Yuqi explains the ingredients are inspired by the regional specialty of braised pig intestines. Roasted pig intestines are a beloved delicacy in southwestern China. Motivating this caffeinated twist, the drink has become a talking point, with coffee enthusiasts flocking to the cafe to experience the bold fusion of liquefied pig innards and traditional latte, a quirky homage to the local cuisine. Now that's one for all the coffee lovers to try. Thanks for watching The World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani.